this is a supercar that we built using parts from Temu. And we're about to do something very stupid. Last year, I bought a 2007 Aston Martin that had been abandoned at a New York City body shop for nearly 15 years. After putting all the panels back on, fixing everything that was broken, and doing some much needed maintenance, we decided to turn it into the craziest Aston Martin ever with a full GT3 wide-body kit from China. It cost $10,000, took 6 months to arrive, and was not a perfect fit. But after a few days, we transformed our once abandoned Aston Martin into something truly one of one. And now we're gonna try driving it across the entire country to the world's craziest car event, Monterey Car Week. I told you it was stupid. Car Week is one of the coolest events in the entire world, where car people and their vehicles take over an entire peninsula in California for a whole week. If you've ever played Forza, it's pretty much that, but in real life. Last year, we drove our handmade Safari 911 from Boston to Monterey with a group of other cars for the event and had an absolute blast. Except for one issue where the key got stuck in the door for 5 hours and we had to hire a locksmith. So to continue tradition, we thought why not drive our craziest project yet, the grueling 3,500 miles across the country to show it off at the most prestigious event on the calendar. There's a slight issue though. The car is almost 100% going to break. It's hard miles on highways, up mountain roads, and through deserts. And this car is nowhere near perfect. So before we leave in just 1 week, we need to get this thing prepared. So let's see what we can do. The first thing is we need to get the car on the lift because we have quite a problem. It's kind of having to do with the entire electrical system of the car, but if we're thinking about driving this thing all the way to California, which is many thousands of miles, we're gonna wanna cover some of the wires. You might know if you've seen the kit install, we don't have fender liners, which means that all of the things that are usually protected by the fender liner are no longer protected. And that includes all the wires for the headlight, all the wires for, well, some of the wires for the ECU.
This headlight is also broken.
Yes, the headlight is broken, so I'm hoping while we're waterproofing the wires, we're just missing like a pin or two, or it's not plugged in all the way. That's what I'm hoping. It probably won't be the case. Unlike a normal car where you have like one little light that does your blinker, easy to replace. Of course, Aston Martin being Aston Martin, it's this entire section of lights here.
And they're LEDs, which don't burn out, so who knows why they're not working.
Yeah, there could be a plethora of things that are the issue. The other problem that we have while we're up in the air is that we need to do an oil change. This car, we did an oil change probably like 2,000 miles ago, and you might say that's very soon to do an oil change, but you have to remember this car was sitting for 15 years. So probably good that we just flush the oil, get some new oil in it before we do such a long trip. And oil changes on this are not like a normal oil change. You'll see very soon what I mean by that. It's very intimidating, it's very expensive, it's pretty fascinating, but it sucks.
Yes.
So we're gonna have to do that. To get the car on the lift, you sort of have to take apart the car because the side skirts get in the way of the jack points, and if
He found that out one time.
if you jack it wrong, you end up with a broken door and a broken side skirt.
And almost a broken skull.
And almost a broken skull, but we're not gonna have that happen today. Now, getting the side skirts off is as simple as hurting your hands very badly and putting them in lots of small spaces. There is not only a bolt down in here, there's bolts underneath. There's bolts over in the back. There's bolts inside the door. So this part might take a minute, but once we get it up in the air, we're chilling. So let's get those first 2 things accomplished. Well, I guess it's more like 3 things. And then we'll move on to some other difficult tasks. We're gonna take care of waterproofing the electrical system, fixing the headlight, and then a quick oil change, and then we'll move on to some tougher stuff. So let's start with the easy thing. Now, unfortunately for me, when we installed these side skirts originally, we didn't know we'd have to remove them all the time. So all the bolts are pretty hard to access, but luckily, once they're installed, it's really sturdy. After cutting up my hands on some fiberglass and getting pretty frustrated, they're finally off. And if this is a sign of how the rest of this is gonna go, this is gonna be a long day. 30 minutes later, such an easy process. The side skirts are removed and we've emptied them of all the debris. They do collect quite a lot of rocks.
And honestly, Jackson's smiling because he loves taking skirts off.
All right, let's get this thing up in the air. With the car up in the air, now we can do our DIY waterproofing of the wiring harness and plugs. To do this, I'm gonna just cover them all in electrical tape in hopes of sealing them off. It's a simple solution, but hopefully it'll work. And with that all done, we can move on to the next issue. the indicator. Unfortunately, the driver's side turn signal doesn't work on the Aston, and unlike most older cars, it isn't just as simple as replacing a bulb. The turn signal is a row of LEDs that also functions as the daytime running light. The DRL works, but when you go to turn, the orange lights don't flash. I don't really know why this is, but I'm gonna check the wiring and see if it all looks good. And somewhat unfortunately, it does. And after some Googling, this might not be as simple a fix as we thought. And it might have an even bigger problem.
Well, in an attempt to fix the turn signal, Will did crack this, and then we can't get it back on.
Oh no, it's back on. I think we broke it when we were unplugging it.
The headlight?
Yeah.
How?
I don't know.
There's no way, we just unplugged the cord.
That cracking wouldn't break that though. Oh, it works now, it's fine.
Okay. Will has amended the headlight destruction. And now, well, we may not have a blinker in the front. We do at least have light.
Let there be light.
It turns out that this is an issue that can happen with these headlights, and it's actually the circuit board in the headlight, and if we want to fix it, we got to take the entire headlight out and fix it. So what we may just do is replace the headlight.
Yes.
I think that'll be a future thing, and then that will be good. So check that off the list. Success.
Replacing the headlight's great because we just have to take off.
Are you putting scotch tape on something? On what?
Now that we've fixed the headlight, we're gonna move on to the oil change, which typically would be simple and I probably wouldn't show it on camera, but with this car, it's far from simple. Most cars have a wet sump. This has a dry sump, which means there's no traditional oil pan. You typically, on a regular car, drain it from one place. On this car, you drain it from more than one place. We've got an oil filter, we've got an oil filter, we've got an oil filter, and then we have, I think, something over here.
Yep, a drain plug there and that one right there.
And this one?
Yep.
Oh gosh, so like about 5 places. And to get there, we need to take off our custom under tray. The under tray is actually one of the cooler parts of this build. It allows the front splitter to actually be functional, and it strengthens the entire front end of our wide body kit. It's held on by a lot of bolts directly into the frame of the car. But after we have almost all of them removed, we're running into another problem. Well, this is going fantastic because upon further thought, we should not take the front splitter off. This is very, very well taped, which is rare for me and Will to do something well. But we actually secured this really well. There's no bolts holding this on right now. And it's
the best thing we did.
It's on there. Which means I think it would be better to just put it back on while we still have it all lined up. Drill an access hole for the oil, because then for future oil changes, it's gonna make our lives so much easier. So let me start putting this thing back together, actually. We're changing our minds a lot in this video. But again, you have to remember, these are all the things we've been putting off doing on this car, and there's a good reason we've been putting off doing them. So let me get this put back together. Thankfully though, everything is still perfectly lined up, so the bolts are going back in nicely. And with that on, we're now ready to make some modifications.
All right, Will is about to attempt to drill a hole for our oil drainage with this. Look how off balance this bit is.
That's a dirty bit.
Oh my goodness.
Give me that.
That don't look right.
No, that's cool. I'm just gonna make sure this is lined up as well as possibly.
I'm scared.
Oh god.
Oh my goodness.
It's like a claw machine, you know what I'm saying?
Ah!
Well, I will say,
That cuts through
I
that
lined
one.
that up nice.
You gotta make a few holes, I think. Oh my god.
Ow!
I told you that was probably not gonna fit.
Alright, now give me something else.
Access!
I'm chewing up the bolt up there accidentally. A little bit of
Yeah, don't do that.
I'm trying not to. Oh my god, I'm covered in shavings.
Will it drain nice?
No. Yeah, I will.
I'll make more holes. No. If you don't think it'll drain that, I still think the angle grinder would have been so much easier.
Nope.
Exactly. Just cut 4 lines and then drop it out.
Nope. Because these guys are wrong and stupid. Dude, this hole?
Unreal.
One of the holes of all time. Cleaning up the hole. They'd be like, oh my god, Will, your hole. Look at my hole.
Look at that.
If you ever need a hole, call 1-800-HOLES by Will.
With our custom drain hole fully functioning, we can start to drain the oil from the engine. Like we said, there are multiple drain plugs on this engine, and also 3 separate filters. We're doing the drain plugs first, replacing the crush washers, and now we can move on to the filters. The car has 3 oil filters, one that is more conventional, and 2 that are unique to this engine setup. Those 2 are held in by a couple of bolts and require some force to remove. Unlike regular oil filters though, you don't replace them with new ones. So instead, I'm gonna try to clean them.
Alright, we're just giving the auxiliary filter a wash. Hold on, let me just...
Can you do this?
A little bit of fast orange on my hands. Not sponsored, by the way, but...
They should sponsor us.
Yeah, alright, yeah, you can wash it out with water. This is what I did last time. Just get all the oil off of it as best you can. So this is an auxiliary metal filter. It's not really...
They have 2 of them.
Yeah, I don't know how it filters super well because it's kind of thick mesh.
Maybe if there's like a rock in there.
Yeah.
He's soaping it down.
Yeah, you want to soap it down. Wow, I am so oiled up. Look at this. The water just
It's hydrophobic.
feeds off me.
With the filters cleaned, we can reinstall them and then replace the conventional oil filter. And now the car is ready for some new oil. Before we do that though, we have another problem to solve. Disposing of the old oil, which you'd think would be easy. But in our case, it never is.
How we have to do the unloading.
Hold on, this is...
Eat that, dude, that's bad.
This is one of the most alarming things we have in this shop, and that's the gloop pail. Let me tell you about the gloop pail. I don't know how you get rid of this. They get close to the top.
If anybody wants this pail full of car juices, please let us know.
Dude, I do not.
You can have the glue pail, we'll pay you to get rid of it.
The EPA better not be watching.
We're just gonna dump it in our garden.
Oh, we're getting close. Oh, we have a second glue.
Oh no!
No, we gave Nico the second glue pail.
Oh no!
We can't. I don't know what we even do with one. Why would we want to?
No, one was empty, dude. We could have just left
Oh,
the
thank
shit.
God. We could have had 2 full glue.
No, you should have smelled them when we got them. They came with industrial, like, sealants or something in them. Oh, the glue.
Yeah, dude, it's...
That is bad.
Yeah, no, it's not good.
You know what we do with the glue pail, folks?
Ignore it.
You cover it, you throw a couple of things on top of it, and you say, goodbye, glue pail, I forgot about you. Until next time.
With the old oil somewhat disposed of, we can now start to fill the car back up with fresh oil. This car takes a ton. And because it's dry sump, you also have to run it to see how much oil is actually in there. We're putting a good amount of oil in just to ensure that it's actually safe to start up, but we're also trying not to overfill the system, because that would be really bad. With 9 quarts in, now we can start it up and hopefully it's good to go.
Turn it off. What the was that?
Oh, no, it didn't sound good.
Ahem.
I know exactly what it is.
What?
We tightened the under tray too tight. It's the belt rubbing against the under tray. Happened the first time we did it.
Holy biscuits, I thought it was knocking. Wow,
Papa Jackson here's got he knows just what to do. It's just like a little bit of rubbing and stuff on places that shouldn't be rubbing against things.
Alright, go get that, brother.
And now
Start her back up, brother.
and now this is how you fix your broken ass
Why-
Martin. For my final trick.
Turn it back on, brethren. Yay!
Yeah, what did I say?
After a bit of a scare, we can now confirm how much oil is actually in the engine, and it's looking good. And now we're done with the oil change, so it's on to the next issue. Next on our problem docket, we have no headliner. If you've been watching for a while, you may remember that we did indeed fix the headliner because it was sagging in the car. And I honestly don't think we fixed it correctly.
It unfixed itself.
It unfixed itself after a while. It's not so nice in there because every once in a while you reach to grab something or you stand up and you get a lot of glue on your head or your hands. So we are going with something a bit stronger. I chose whatever had the most big adjectives in it. This says ultimate.
And
does
low
say.
VOC.
Yeah, which is probably good. I don't know what that means, but I think it's probably
Does
better.
headliner on it though?
It also does say extremely flammable. I've never seen a bottle say extremely flammable, just usually flammable. Oh God. We have done this once before. The trick is to not break anything because you have to take off a lot of things that are leather, and anything leather wrapped in this car
is thousands of dollars and a 6-month wait. You can't find it anywhere online. You have to buy it from Aston Martin. So we yet again are going to try to not damage anything, but once you get it out, it should be pretty straightforward.
We've done it once.
I don't think we need to scrape any glue off this time because we didn't glue it very hard last time. So
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna slowly, actually completely not slowly.
Hopefully quickly.
Hopefully quickly.
like
Let's get this done.
I'd like to not do it slowly.
Like we said, we have done this before, so it shouldn't be too difficult. The first step is to remove some very expensive pieces from the dashboard. Although this is a pretty easy job, it's also really risky because if we break any of these pieces, they cost thousands of dollars to replace and take months to arrive. So a small mistake can be a huge setback. With enough of the dash removed, now we can start to remove the A-pillars that hold in the headliner. The last time we did this, we had to super glue the bolt hole covers back in, but thankfully they're coming off without much issue. And now we can slide these two massive panels out and then jimmy out the backing plate for the headliner. And then we get to the fun part. Spray.
Now, as much as Jackson loves huff and glue,
I'm starting to take my my health more serious, my safety, because we want to be good role models and we also don't want to die young.
With proper protection, now I can start to cover the backing with glue. This time being a lot more generous to make sure it doesn't fall out again. With the glue sprayed, Will and I can lay the Alcantara onto the panel, being extra careful to get everything properly aligned and pressed down. Now we can wait for it to dry and then carefully reinstall it, along with all the other panels we had to remove. And with everything back in and unbroken, we can breathe a sigh of relief.
But just like that, with a little bit of elbow grease, the headliner is in and not sagging anymore. So that is a job well done. We need to move on to the next thing. While we have the adhesive out, and it's probably hardening as we speak, we gotta fix this.
it don't adhere.
It adherent.
It adhered at one point, and then the adhesion fell.
The
Because I was driving it fast.
Let's have
Oh
an
yeah, you need an
outside
outside
cup.
bowl.
That's not
Yeah,
even
not a bowl, true.
That looks good though.
You want a bite?
No, I'm good for now. But yeah, we're gonna adhese that. Adhesive.
We're applying the adhesive directly to the body of the car and the panel itself. We did the same thing last time, but didn't apply enough. So hopefully we can get away with just adding more and it won't start to detach itself. With the glue added, we're taping the panel down so it stays in the right place while the glue dries. Now, I'm pretty ADHD, so while we wait for that, I'm gonna play a little game. And luckily, this video is sponsored by Fishing Clash. Fishing Clash is a super fun mobile game that simulates actual fishing. But instead of having to go find a spot by the water and wait forever to actually catch something, you get to dive right into it. It's action-packed and super fun. I actually used to fish as a kid, and my one complaint, besides the fact that I once got a hook stuck in my finger, was that I barely ever caught anything. But in this game, I feel like a fishing pro. Over the course of just a few minutes, I caught several fish, all of different varieties, and even caught a shark at one point, which I actually didn't even know was possible. But the game doesn't just stop there. Just like upgrading and modifying your car, you can upgrade your gear in the game, which allows for endless fun. There are even events and competitions in the game, which I love because I'm honestly a pretty competitive person. Fishing Clash also has clans, which means you can play with friends. And if you want, I even started my own clan, which you can join right now. So make sure you go check out the Fishing Clash link down below and try it for free today. Trust me, you'll have a blast. It's way more fun than actual fishing. If you have ADHD, this is the cure to it. And don't forget to use code CRANKSHAFT to get special prizes. Just click on this blue tab up in the corner, click gift codes, then type in CRANKSHAFT to receive your unique avatar, mythical lure card, more weight power-ups, and extra luck power-ups. Huge shout out to 10 Square Games for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to join my Fishing Clash clan if you want to have a good time at least. And now, let's get back to the car. I think we've waited long enough. The next step on the fixing the Aston is it doesn't really have any power steering fluid left. The Aston Martin, when you steer, makes some very horrible sounds, and the steering over the past couple weeks of driving it has gotten heavier and heavier. And obviously that's just a matter of not having any fluid, and we can solve that rather easily. All you have to do is you unscrew that. It has low fluid, you can see. Luckily, it's not our power steering pump that's broken. And then you just grab, we have some Valvoline ATF here, and we're just gonna pour that in and get it to the right level. This is an easy fix. I hope I'm doing it right. I've never done this before. I'm explaining it like I know what I'm doing, but. Well,
I thought I overfilled it, but then when you actually bleed the system by turning the wheel back and forth, it does go down. So I think we're okay. It feels already a lot lighter, and it's not whining.
It might be
like
slightly overfilled, but I think it's fine.
Yeah, it'll vent out of there by popping the cap off at 100 miles an hour.
After thinking a bit harder, I decided it's best to remove some of the fluid with a pump and get it to the perfect level so I don't damage anything. And with that all taken care of, we can move on to the next issue, which might also be the hardest to solve.
Now, one of the problems with the old Aston Martin is that if you're driving on the highway and you're at about, let's say 3,000 RPM, your brain turns to mashed potatoes. It feels like something bad is happening. If you have the windows up, you're at that RPM, it's just the right frequency where your brain is melting. And now, I would obviously like to avoid that, driving hours and hours endlessly on the highway.
Especially because the optimal cruising speed is at the unoptimal RPMs to destroy your brain.
That's true. If you don't want to be at 4,000 RPM and be burning through fuel at an egregious rate, which this already does normally, you need to sit a little bit lower, ideally, and hurt your brain. So we've gotten 2 of these. Now, they are a little small, and that is to our benefit because underneath we don't have a lot of space to go much further back.
If you want to see,
Yeah.
it's because this is where our exhaust currently exits.
We don't want it to exit into the rear bumper.
and or the axle. So we caught something that could basically, hopefully in an ideal world, fit right in there.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Hopefully. Now, the little ones probably won't quiet the exhaust a whole lot, but the hope is that they will at least stop the drone weird frequency. They will change that a little bit.
Hopefully, yeah.
That is what we hope. These were very cheap and very small.
Soda can muffler.
They're from, I'm not shouting them out. They're from a weird little company I've never heard of. If they work, they get a shout out.
Now in theory, this should be pretty easy. When we ordered the resonators, we measured the exhaust to the best of our ability, but we're quickly finding out that the best of our ability is not really good enough, because it doesn't fit. Thankfully, we have all the types of tools that will hopefully allow us to make this work. The most important tool in this endeavor will be a pipe expander. This allows you to stretch the end of a pipe out to get it to fit over another piece, and then be clamped together. Even with the downturn and the resonator connected though, we're still running into a major problem. To rectify this, I'm going to try to cut the turn downs, and then fit them right up to the resonator so that there's enough room for everything. With the pipes cut down and expanded again, we should have enough room to fit everything. But now we have another problem. The resonator is too big to clamp to the exhaust. After breaking a couple of clamps, we're starting to get really frustrated. This was supposed to be a 30-minute job, and we are now hours deep without actually having accomplished anything aside from breaking tools and ruining the solution we had previously installed. It's getting late, so we're gonna sleep on it, and hopefully come up with a solution tomorrow.
The next day.
We have been struggling for hours on a task that should have only taken about 30 minutes, which is typical car stuff, to be honest with you. But we finally found a solution to our exhaust problems. And it's a little unorthodox. We're going to be putting the tip of this in here and then angling it down. That keeps everything out of the way, stops everything from rattling, brings the exhaust at an even harsher angle downward and back, which makes it further away from our brains, and allows it to be resonated. Does it look super pretty? Definitely not. But I'm hoping that that is a viable solution, and it should at least do something.
It's gotta do something, right?
It's gotta do something. It's not pretty, but you don't see it. So what does it matter?
It'll do something.
Noah thinks it'll do something.
It'll do something. I was thinking you guys might be a little stupid at first, but I think
There's always a risk of that.
Honestly, that's the solution I think is gonna be the best.
With a final plan to make everything work, we're cutting the pipes to the length we need them and getting them prepared to be welded together. I have no idea how to weld. I've tried it a few times, pretty unsuccessfully. But luckily for me, my best friend and roommate Noah knows how to, and has a welder. So he's attaching the resonators to the downturns for us. And with that all done to the best of our ability, we can finally install the resonators to the end of the exhaust and start it up for the first time.
Somehow we got the resonators on there. They're a little weird, but I think they'll work. And if anything, they're also just gonna push where the exhaust is exiting even further back. But we're gonna start it up right now and see what happens, because that's all we have left to do now on the exhaust. Fire up. That's better. I almost think I can hear it at idle.
It's a little bit less boomy at idle. The Aston is officially ready for its cross-country journey and car week. Well, hopefully. And if you want to see what happens on our cross-country journey, don't forget to subscribe.